And there's a Sufi saying that the virtue of one virtue is more powerful than 1,000 vices. The virtue of one, by the virtue of one, 1,000 could be saved. By the vice of one, 1,000 could be lost. And there's a Christian saying that says, Christ saves his followers from their sins. This is exactly what the Sufi saying is. It means that by the goodness of one, thousands can be benefited. Likewise, by the evil of one, thousands, a whole country could be ruined, like in the case of Hitler. So it's all about virtues and vices. And a vice is kind of a wrongdoing and inequity, whereas a virtue is like a strong integrity or a meretricious quality. Yet a virtue carried too far becomes a vice. This is the thing, we're in the worlds of opposites, you know, so definitely whatever your greatest strength is can easily become your greatest weakness, and vice versa. If you overcome your greatest weakness, definitely you've gained a great strength in yourself. So the idea of virtues and vices, the idea is virtues are to be applied to vices, to correct them as remedies, to master them. And patience is one of the 7 virtues, heavenly virtues. And then there are 12 virtues given by Aristotle, 5 virtues of Christ, the 4 virtues of Plato, which are the same as the 4 cardinal virtues. And we have the 3 theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity. Now one time some student at Daskalos came to me and said, oh, Daskalos said you had nothing to worry about because you have fortitude, which is one of the 4 virtues.
Which one, sir?
Fortitude. Fortitude. It means literally courage in the face of adversity. And oftentimes Daskalos, he worked very indirectly. I think he even advised us to try to work most indirectly. So instead of telling somebody what to do, say, well, if I was you, I would do this. So you kind of work indirectly. So one thing he used to do is tell other people, because he knew they would run and tell you. So this guy came and said, Daskalos says you have the virtue of fortitude. And I started feeling pretty good for a while. I had this pleasure, wow, Daskalos thinks I have a cardinal virtue. And I thought, wonder what the other 3 are. So I looked them up, and they are temperance, moderation in action, thought, word, or deed. Justice, it's the quality of being fair with yourself and other people. It's a measure. And prudence was the last one, the quality of being wise and cautious. And when I got to this one, I realized the only reason I had fortitude was to make up for my lack of prudence. I'm serious.
Yeah.
So why should we care about these virtues? The virtues are nice ideals to live by. The 7 virtues of chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, patience, kindness, humility. These 7 virtues are healing remedies that correct the effect of the 7 deadly sins, or they call them. But instead of sins, let's call them something else. Let's call them errors, because actually the word sin in the original Greek language meant to miss the mark, or to make a mistake, an error. So the 7 deadly errors are lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. So the idea was, and is that when we're affected by one of the 7 deadly, we are to apply one of the 7 virtues to correct things. For example, if you're influenced by the group elemental called gluttony, you apply the virtue of moderation. Temperance, it's the same thing. And when we're influenced by the thing of greed, we're supposed to apply the virtue of charity. So we use these measures and countermeasures.
Would you describe what you said about temperance again?
Temperance, yeah. If you're under this thing of gluttony and you can't stop eating, then you have to bring this other virtue forward called temperance, which means moderation. So you eat in moderation.
Right, but I mean before that you gave a description of it.
Was it prudence and fortitude?
Prudence. Okay, that's the one. Okay. No, prudence. What for temperance? What you described it.
Temperance is just moderation in all things.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is exactly what we're doing in the teachings. We're applying remedies to do self-development, and that's what Daskalos was doing with healings. He was applying counter vibrations to the thing causing the problem, to other harmful vibrations. And sometimes he would prescribe what you might think of as home remedies, which I guess they were, but he knew about the vibrations of the thing. One time I was traveling, when I went to Daskalos, I often went to Egypt and traveled in Egypt. And for the first couple of trips, I was so good not eating any raw vegetables. But on my last trip, I was tempted by a falafel that had some tomato and lettuce in it, and I ate it. And oh my God, I was with somebody, we both just got so sick. And it went on for months and months and months. And every time you ate, it got worse. And you'd fast a while and think, okay, I'm doing all right. Then you'd come right back. We couldn't get rid of it. We took medicine from the doctors, couldn't get rid of it. So then I come across a remedy he suggested, which was to increase, to make a mixture of yogurt, garlic, olive oil, and cucumber. Mix them together. It's in some of the books. And took it, and within 2 weeks it was gone. Wow. So what he was doing was created this chemistry and this concoction that produced real and lasting cures. And you know, it's kind of funny because it's kind of like the food that the Mideastern people eat anyway. Cucumber, yogurt, and garlic and olive oil. But he explained it this way. Each problem emanates certain kinds of vibrations. The way to deal with the problem is to identify certain substances that emanate the counter vibrations. When you bring the two together, they're annihilated. After all, what have we been teaching? That everything is movement, vibration, pulsation. And the same principles apply to non-physical problems, as in the prayer of St. Francis, where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, let me sow pardon. Where there's despair, hope. Darkness, light. Sadness, joy. So in a similar way, we're using our core values to apply to the challenges and adversities we face on our path every day. And the most important core value, as I said, is patience, which is gained by the lessons learned. In other words, by experience. God has placed all of us exactly where we are to get our most needed next lesson. If it was not necessary, God would not have put us where we are. So we must develop patience. We must develop this core value. Because patience is not given to some people and others, it's developed by the person. And it doesn't happen in a few weeks, it takes time. Impatience will not benefit you. It will help restrict your spiritual development. So each step made by patience is one step closer to the aim. With our aim in mind, we step toward it. But we do not have to be in a hurry and wear ourselves out. We don't need to rush forward because we could fall, trip, and stumble. And that would kind of hurt our progress. So the best procedure is to make it steady, firm, and comfortable. No need to be in a hurry. We got as much time as it takes for us to complete. But the good news is whatever you gain now won't be lost when your material body dies, like other material things. You will continue to study in the psychonoetical worlds you pass into if, and only if, you want to. But there is the same basic school. The lessons are more advanced, and the atmosphere of the psychical plane is much more conducive to you understanding, to you getting correct perceptions, truer perceptions. So everyone here has put their feet on the path and started. Now we just need steadiness and consistency in our aim, and we don't look backwards. Does everybody remember the parable about the plower, the farmer who's plowing the field, and Christ is given the parable, and he says, if he plows crooked rows behind him, he keeps looking back at what mistakes he's made, he's going to plow crooked rows ahead. So we are to look forward always. So eventually we'll be successful. When the time comes. It's again like this fruit unfolding naturally. It has to be ready. You can't make it grow faster just because you want to. Apple trees take a long time. And so the thing about our spiritual life, to bear fruit, it takes time and patience. We have to go through long periods of preparation, initiations, and trials, which really help develop these core values of patience, endurance, and faith. And we're going to talk about faith on another day, because that's a very important core virtue. And the archangels working in our body are very patient with us. We work against it. They're sitting there building up stuff, and then we work against it. And they don't get mad at the personality that's doing that. Sometimes we abuse our bodies or use our bodies to kill other bodies, destroying each other, destroying the works the archangels themselves have made. Especially in the nature kingdom, we're just slaughtering. I saw the statistic once, how many trees are killed every day. It's unbelievable. How many 50 billion animals a year slaughtered just for us to eat. So we're working against them all the time, but they don't ever get mad. They don't hurt you back because you've hurt their work. And even more patient is our guardian angel. He's really an archangel from the thrones, Metathrones. And they're, like we said, are less strict than our inner self with us. And it's really the most near and dear being to any of us, although most of us have no ideas even here with us. The other archangel, it's the only one too that can go into attunement with us. It's the only archangel that can do it. The others go into attunement with our bodies to do the works in the bodies, but they don't want to attune with the personality because your negativity, let's say it that way, negativity smells to them. Your jealousies, your fears, your doubts, it has a smell. And they don't like to approach it, but they love it when you approach them, and they'd be happy for you to go into attunement with them. And when you do, then they teach you your secrets. But you have to purify your personality to be able to do that. So the guardian angel works super consciously with us. What's that mean, super consciously? It means at all places, at all times, at once. It's working on the entire circle of possibilities for you. Although you're at a point on this circle of possibilities, it's working on all points simultaneously, perfectly, flawlessly, no errors. And it has been for all time, for all your time. And they're going to remain with us. As Guardian says, he said, I will be with you until you no longer need me. Does that mean self-realization?
Theosis. Theosis?
Yeah, theosis. Because even at self-realization, we don't leave. We come back to the planet to help the other people raise it. So basically, they come back not so much to help us anymore, but to help us help others. That's what they're doing. So we're never alone. Don't ever feel like you're alone and, oh, poor me, I'm alone, nobody loves me. This thing is, you can't imagine the love the Archangel has for you. From all time, from your first incarnation, in between incarnations, all your fears, all your doubts, all your hopes and dreams, all your successes and failures. He's been with you right there through every one. That's why he's the best guide. I mean, you can go to Master. The Master doesn't know all that stuff unless they go into the cosmic records, and they don't have the ability to, they don't have the time to do that for everybody. But the Guardian Angel knows them all and knows what's happening and why you're where you are right now. So his advice is perfect. And he can tell you stuff the Masters can't tell you. They're not allowed to tell you. But he's allowed because he knows he's not going to make a mistake by telling you something too soon or something like that.
Daniel, a quick question here. If you were to explain this to someone that that haven't been like in contact with a guardian angel or doesn't even know about angels, is there a practical advice that you could tell them or you could tell us to get in touch more with the Archangel to hear more his voice?
Yeah, it's more about that because you're in a constant dialogue with him all the time. But everybody thinks it's themselves talking to themselves because he's one with you. So it feels like yourself or another voice. It's a voice in your head or heart, wherever you want to say. But it's a voice, but it has this authority. And it's so, it's just unquestionable. First time I heard it, I was 7 and he explained so many things about past lives. And I knew it was right. He just had the voice of authority. So the most important thing is to calm down. This is back to anything we're doing like meditation. We have to silence all those thoughts and feelings coming from our subconsciousness. Otherwise, we can't really hear the voice.